Hello everyone and welcome. My name's Simon and we are the Whales of Wall Street. First of all, thank you for subscribing. If you haven't done so already, please do subscribe. We're so close to 500 now. First things first, this project that we're going to talk about today was actually recommended to me by one of our viewers and subscribers, 2010 BTC So What. So first of all, thank you so much for bringing this to my attention and giving us the opportunity, of course, to bring this content to everyone. Ubix, UBX on exchange, available on KuCoin and a couple of other platforms as well, Uniswap being one of the most other notable ones, and of course Bitrue as well. Not sure about the other ones, but anyway, this one, guys, well, I'm learning a lot more and more as I go along. I'm doing a full assessment of a blockchain cryptocurrency diploma, so I'm trying my best to learn all things crypto, all things blockchain. But this one threw an absolute spanner in the works. This one is what they call a DAG blockchain hybrid. This, guys, is called Ubix. I think it's Ubix. It's like Weebix, but without the we. So I'm assuming it's Ubix. We're going to call it Ubix or Ubix, whatever. So for, like I said, on the exchange, you're looking for UBX. Now, DAG blockchain hybrid. So the hybrid element comes from the fact that it operates and provides a service for private and public blockchains, which we'll go on to in a minute. The DAG part, which stands for Directed Acyclic Graph. I think that's how you say it. Acyclic, I'm not sure, because cyclic is the other word that I would think of, and then acyclic, and we'll go on to that in a second as well. So basically what that means is there's essentially no need for like blocks or miners, which I thought was quite amazing. And it's kind of like a distributed, like peer peer confirming system. So it's really hard to get my head around how that works. I'll go into a couple of examples of visuals and stuff how that is in a second. But I really wanted to bring this to your attention, one, because it was recommended to me, but also doing my own research in this, I realized that this is almost like another level. And the integration of various blockchains into one sort of thing, and how it can go about, how it can improve. And we'll also go into a couple of other elements of like staking opportunities, which I've got my head around finally after about 2 hours of trying to figure it out this morning. And we'll talk about that a bit more as well. So yeah, back to this whole kind of like DAG system. So obviously there's a few problems with existing blockchains. Obviously they keep improving, through things like proof of stake, etc. And just improving the protocols really of these blockchains. But we know that there's always some kind of issue with like hardware scalability in general, the speed of which transactions are done, or the speed in which things are upgraded, etc. Proof of work, of course, is relatively old kind of system, but still out there and still used by a lot of the existing blockchain elements. And there's not massive amounts, but there's obviously still some kind of security elements still in focus, particularly recently as well. So this is trying to basically move. The way it works is really weird. In fact, let's go to that now, just so I don't want to put too much information out there because I don't want to confuse everyone, but do your own research, and I will definitely do a video on DAG in more detail. But here we are. It's just mental. Okay, so we've got a few funky graphs here, but how does DAG work? So in DAG-based cryptocurrency, each vertex is a structure represents a transaction. Okay, so no notion of blocks. As I mentioned earlier, there's no blocks or miners required for it. It's a bit mental. So there's kind of like a small element of proof of work operation, but it's done when nodes submit the transaction. Okay, cool. So for a new transaction to be added, it must be built on top of older ones. So the way this is doing is basically like the more new transactions there are on the network, the more there are to approve or confirm the previous ones. So it's like that method of like proof of work, proof of staking, and things like this that we've spoken about in the past. And the way that the node infrastructure works, and the sort of routes, hash routes and things like that. So it's kind of like doing it already via transactions rather than actual kind of like computing power, which I think is kind of mind-blowing when I'm trying to still get my head around blockchain, and I've literally just finally understood fully how blockchain works and how chains are created, and we can go into a video on that now that I've learned all that, of course. But this is, like I said, it's gone beyond me to seeing a completely even different technology, an application on top of, almost like another layer on top of what we know already about blockchain technology and how it works. It's like the next development phase. It's mental. So yeah, just have a bit of research into this a bit more. But I suggest this really cool page here on the Binance US site. What is a directed acyclic graph? I'm going to call it acyclic. Someone please correct me if I'm wrong. Again, I wish there was some like noun thing or pronouns or whatever they're called to explain how you say things in some of this new technology sector of ours here. So yeah, it's really, really interesting how they're doing things. But the actual project as well, so it's not just that part. Okay, so as we mentioned, the private public part of the hybrid, but these guys are also doing other things. So they got their own exchange being built as well. They can do smart contracts via JavaScript. And we've also got these cool things here, which we'll go and touch upon towards the latter part of this video. So the Ubix, which is basically like their wallet essentially, and they've also got a part of it as their dApps platform as well. This is kind of like for the staking element and the wallet element, which we, like I said, we'll go into for now, shortly as well. Make Me Money. So this is kind of like a calculating segment of it here, so you can actually go on here and figure out how much money do I want to make. Okay, well I need like maybe, I mean we can talk about that right now actually, to be fair, before we go on to the nitty gritty stuff as well. So for example, some key points here for the staking element. Let's say for example you're getting them on KuCoin. You need to have a minimum of 300,000 UBX tokens in your exchange to be used on the staking platform. So just from this number here, this gives you a good little calculation of what you could earn per day, per month, and per year. I think it's quite staggering, really. My maths isn't fantastic on this. I'll have a look at the prices in a minute, but I would anticipate like maybe $300 or $400 would get you probably enough tokens plus the extra that's needed, for example with KuCoin. So you need around, I think, 7,000 UBX to transfer your tokens across to the wallet, which we'll go on to in a second. So you kind of got to accumulate that into the factor as well. But I would say, yeah, arguably you'd probably, if you're going to be staking, want to sort of aim potentially for perhaps that kind of 350 mark as a minimum. Unless you're just happy to keep them on the exchange, of course. Everyone's got their own strategy and thought process around that, and this isn't financial advice. You guys do what the hell you want. But here we go. So let's say we've got that, and we put it into our staking. Look at this. This is, stop changing it, please. I don't know why it keeps doing that. Leave. So every month, guys, I couldn't believe this was right. I had to do it like 4 or 5 times to double check this, but this is suggesting like every month. Based on the system we got with the staking at the moment, you'll be obtaining $96 a month. That's mental. Wow. Okay, so I went quiet there just because of the amazingness of this. So you can basically kind of get your money back over like a 3 or 4 month period just from staking. I'm going to triple check this, guys, and if you guys know any different, please let me know. But before we go on to the proper staking conversation, let's just jump back quickly to the offerings that this chain and application have as well. So you've got the Launchpad on there. There's loads of airdrop opportunities and things like that. And you've got loads of other token opportunities as well. And this thing's quite cool, blockchain-based voting systems. This is kind of like the DAG elements, so the whole voting system by chain to make sure that you can make decisions and help promote your decisions and ideas towards how the blockchain should be used and governed, etc., which is absolutely fantastic. Is what we like to see in this space. Loads more transactions going on a daily basis. Keep an eye on this. The numbers keep changing every day, of course. But really, really good staking rewards and everything like that as well. So there's loads of stuff going on here. What I really like always with projects is roadmaps. Absolutely. Did I put that on here? Yes, I did. So there's a full entire list of what they're doing within each element of the roadmap. So do go and check that out as well. So they've got their own like really cool like wiki element here on this page. Check that out for sure. But yeah, some really interesting things on here. One particular thing here, Binance Smart Chain integration already done. So that's been announced quite recently, and that is absolutely phenomenal work from those guys. And they've done it really quickly as well. This silent notary thing is absolutely incredible. So this is another part of their project, utilizing essentially a load of different technologies, whether it be AI or storytelling, etc., to figure out kind of like smart contracts and how we talk about data being permanently put onto blockchains can't be reversible. So there's no manipulation, there's no fraud or anything like that. So there's loads of really cool, interesting case studies here. For example, phone calls about the recording of them, nothing can be changed about them. They're kind of set in stone and evidence for evidence purposes and things like that. Or from a business perspective, when you've got potentially some people that are working for you and they're not actually doing the things they're supposed to be doing in part of their job, you can kind of like have that element of not necessarily tracking or micromanagement kind of thing, but it's all automated within the blockchain system that you have. This one's really cool. So this actually reminded me of, is it District? That game where it kind of like shows you elements of history and it kind of like plays it together in front of you so you can see what happened. And like you can like walk around it and spin it around in 3D models of like, oh, this was a car crash. So in this example, a car crash, every bit of detail was put on here. So when you're talking about blockchain technology, where we spoke about in previous videos, where you can use blockchain technology to see the historic data of a car, so what the materials were, whether there's fake parts, this, that, and the other. And because of all that information, when there is a car accident in the future, all of these elements will be put in there. So immediately you could say, oh, well, the car was actually stolen, or the car had a faulty product on it because it was bought from XYZ, or this part doesn't match up with what it's supposed to be, and so on and so forth. So it takes all that admin element of like investigation, and actually because of all the video evidence at the scene and everything like this, these guys are able to essentially do like the real video shooting and everything like that, so that eventually in time goes by, they'll be able to create like the 3D models and do a reversal of what this accident actually looked like and how it started. Is that quite incredible? So from an insurance perspective, from evidence perspective in court, if it ever went that far, it's absolutely incredible. Copyrights, all of this sort of stuff. I mean, this is just literally top line stuff I'm giving you here, guys. I will do another video on this as I learn more and more, but I had to throw it out there because it was actually mind blowing for me. And I do get very passionate about like blockchain and crypto in general. But when I see something like this, that's even more amazing and it's more of a challenge for me to understand, I absolutely love it. And there's so much application that they can do for this. Another mention here about B2B and B2C markets. So not just about all the big gigantic corporates. These guys are trying to open this up for anyone and everyone. Artists, when we're talking about copyrights and things like this, kind of like what Veracity are partly doing in terms of like streaming and things like where they're trying to do things of proof of view. Music artists obviously being able to prove that it's definitely their music. It's definitely. I think there was that song a while ago, wasn't it? Getting jiggy, not jiggy with it. It's that funny one with the little flute music, and it was actually that this guy had actually made that music like 20 years ago, and they were using it as the sample cover. But I don't think it ever went anywhere because they couldn't prove it. So imagine that kind of thing. You've made some music across the other side of the world, and then a big massive pop artist uses that as a sample in like 5 years' time. That whole algorithm of blockchain will be able to stop that with it before it even starts, you know. So for copyright and construction, of course, as well, materials, all of this sort of stuff. It's kind of, when I mean about DAG and blockchain hybrid and how these guys are using it and linking multiple blockchains, right? It's not necessarily just all about what they're doing simply and solely, but this is, for example, all of these aspects are almost like you could probably name some crypto assets out there that cover different elements of these kind of things. So for example, like lawyers with smart contracts, you could say like Cardano and other ones as well. Online media and music artists, we kind of like covered that just a minute ago with Veracity. You've got like B Pro as well. all of this sort of stuff. And there's loads of education ones that I can't off the top of my head remember them, but like construction, you could think about that like the supply chain stuff, like VeChain, for example. Now, obviously not necessarily going to pull in all these big names, but it's more about like, okay, well, you've got a really cool startup blockchain, you've got a startup blockchain, let's combine them. Let's create this new ecosystem. So when we actually talk about in previous videos of the whole AI, IoT, an autonomous world, a complete universal smart grid, these are the kind of technologies that are going to pull all that together. Because it's like when you have like smartphone apps, yeah, like with security cameras or smart applications around your home. You don't want like 4 or 5 apps on your phone. You just want the one. You don't really care, like, for example, with if this then that. You don't really care like that you've basically had to manually interlink them. But imagine if that was automated and it just came into one system. You have the one app that is controlling 4 or 5 of your different branded products or IoT services and applications, and you don't have to worry about it. That's exactly the kind of principle and logic behind what these guys are trying to do, but on a blockchain level. So honestly, absolutely incredible. And I thank you so much to our viewer, as I mentioned at the beginning, 2010 BTC, so what, nice name, for bringing this to my attention. To wrap this video up, guys, because I know I'm perhaps waffling on there, and forgive me, it's just the excitement. And like I said, we will do a couple more videos on this as I learn more about it. Just wanted to throw it out there as an example right now. Ubix, which is their wallet, sign up to it in the My Profile. You will see loads of interesting things on here. I've just done like a test wallet here. I haven't put anything on it. I've got to create this properly. So you've got like an ETH platform and a UBX platform of how you want to send it across. Someone did say to me earlier that Tron's available, but I can't quite find it on there. I will do a separate staking video on how you do this. But alternatively, if you can't wait for that long, again, check out this website here, ubix.wiki. Ubix from exchange to Ubix, and it gives you a whole breakdown of how you go throughout this system. So the ice cream van's now turned up to interrupt me. Let's ignore it. What an annoying song. So it just literally goes through the whole application and what you need to definitely do if you're transferring from KuCoin, which I will be when I eventually bring them across as well. And when you set this up, it does give you a private key. You need to make sure you keep that safe. That isn't the private key, by the way. And what's really cool as well is when you unwrap and you do each transaction, they give you a new address, but it still interlinks with the same one. So it's really, really cool setup and security on here. I think it's absolutely fantastic. And in terms of rewards, they're really big as well at the moment also. So there's loads going on with this project. It's absolutely fantastic. So you can calculate profit. It's absolutely mental. And I think going to the price point, let's just have a quick look at that for you guys as well. There's a couple of elements I want to make a point on. So this chart is pulled in from KuCoin. So this is where it's launched. So I can't really show you too much historic data. If you want to see that properly, go on to CoinMarketCap. The previous all-time high was 0.005. So in terms of right now, we have still got some really good movement opportunities for this run this year. And we have seen some good growth patterns since that sort of V-check. But one of the key points that our that our subscriber mentioned was that it does follow a similar pattern, and I can confirm this, with the likes of BPro and Veracity. So we definitely know there's still an opportunity for it to catch up with its previous all-time high earlier this year, because we're currently trading at 0.0008. So we've still got quite a lot of room in the tank. And I'll just be careful with this MACD element narrowing slightly. The volumes are looking good, and on the RSI on the 14-day, it's still got some room for a movement. But for me, I'm not really... The two main reasons I'm interested is, well, 3 reasons actually. 1, because of what it is and what it is doing, which is absolutely phenomenal. 2, I'm planning this one personally for the future. This is not financial advice, it's just me personally. I'm planning for the future in a few years' time when these sort of DAG systems really take off and all their applications are in place more and more, their DApp sections completed, etc., and they're all on these different chains and exchanges. That's for sure. The third part is the staking. Now, I'm not going to do it all in one go because I do always think that there's always risks with anything and everything in crypto, always. So you've got to really analyze what you want to do and not just go, if you've got the money, fair enough, fair play to you. But for me, I'm happy to stagger it out over a few months and build up that pot. Hopefully it doesn't go all the way up again. But on the positive side is, even if it does go up to the previous all-time high, there's still relatively low prices to get what you need to do for that minimum staking opportunity. So like I said, not financial advice, but I'm just being factual here. Is you don't need to put thousands and thousands of pounds in this to start making an impact on your future benefits of the reward systems and the staking system. So it's really, really interesting. I haven't done a price chart full on analysis really, because there's not a huge amount of historic data, and like I said, it's so early days. There's not really much to compare it to, other than what it is capable of doing, what it has done on the roadmap, which we've gone through, which is very important to check on research, and all those fantastic things. So, guys, I'm going to leave it there. I'm sorry I've thrown so much information out here, and let us know in the comments below if you're invested in UBX already, and if you're not, what questions do you want answered in our next video for it? Because I will definitely do one, probably maybe for next week, as I've calmed down from the excitement today and gone through in a bit more of a fine detail, and perhaps I might even do a run through of the staking element of doing it ourselves as well, as a practical lesson kind of thing. So do let me know in the comments below what you think, what you want to know, and I will cover it 100%. That's not a problem. Please do like, subscribe if you found this very informative, and we will see you and UBX on the moon. Take care, everyone. We'll see you in the next video. Goodbye, and have a great evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you are. Bye now.